Welcome to the SJ Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to Season 8. Just wanted to take a second to do a couple shout outs to Karen Shapiro and Ben Sharif, always thinking of you guys. To Jeannie Love and Jennifer Stolley, thank you so much for your support. Enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the SG Child Show. Today, I'm really excited to jump into this conversation. Kristen Donnelly, I hope I pronounced that all correctly.
You did.
Okay, sometimes Kristen, you got to be careful of those, right? Just like Sarah with an H. People always think I need this extra letter, but I am all the extra I need without it. So it's so great to have you on. I'm really resonated your profile and the thing when I reached out to you, because I really am very passionate about helping parents and children and just this whole path that we're on. And so I think empathy is a really, really big part of life and of humanity, but not a lot of us, especially as parents, know how to teach it or understand what it consists of. So grateful to have you here today to gain some further knowledge and experience on this.
Well, I'm happy to help. I love talking to parents. And as someone who works a lot with college students, I really love the opportunity to help parents understand their kiddos as living humans instead of, maybe just your kid. Yeah. And that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, perhaps, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I spent a lot of time in youth work, and I've been working with teenagers for most of my life. So the first thing I will say is that empathy has actually very little to do with emotions. And so if you have heard the word empathy and thought, well, I'm not really touchy-feely, or I don't do that, or you've thought, I feel what other people feel all the time, and that gets overwhelming, I want you to know that both of those things are incorrect. So there are definitely people that feel other people's energies for a whole host of reasons, usually due to trauma in some way, shape, or form. But sometimes we're just hardwired to kind of get vibes. However, you can't feel what anyone else is feeling for a lot of reasons. Yeah. One is that most emotions are kind of designed to last 90 seconds in their pure form. And most of us feel 6 to 7 emotions about a thing in rapid succession. A lot of us can't express what we're feeling in real ways at any given moment. Language is elastic. What I mean by sad could be different to what you mean by sad. And then finally, we're all different people with different contexts. And you're not a mind reader, and you're not in someone else's life. So I want to free you from any responsibility that you have been given to feel what other people feel and to know what other people are feeling. Instead, what I'd like to invite you to is the concept of understanding other people's contexts. So you can understand people without agreeing with them. You can understand them without being anything like them. You can understand them and still completely think they are, cuckoo bananas. You can understand them and gain a deeper appreciation and work with them even better. Understanding instead of assumptions is basically the core of empathy. So my partner and I have defined empathy as the consistent, intentional decision to choose understanding over assumptions for yourself and other people. Now, that would include your kid. And I need to poke a slight hole in the statement that a parent always knows their kid best.
Oh, no.
It's not actually necessarily true.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know the version of your kid that your kid lets you know. Mm-hmm. You know your version of your kid that you have created in your head. And there's reality somewhere in there. But you need to be open to the idea that you don't know everything about your kid, nor can you ever, honestly, nor should you ever.
Yeah.
Because your kid is their own person. So how do you cultivate that? You ask more questions and make less assumptions.
Active listening.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it.
of what we need to teach in communication.
Yep.
And I love that you said that, because I was just in a previous podcast, and continuing themes. I swear, it's they come into my life, continuing themes into opposite people that never known each other, continuing themes. I love it. And one of the things we're talking about is that expectation that your child is not like you. You aren't raising a mini me, a second you. I'm not going into this world. My child won't have the same experiences as I did in 1982. There's just no way that can happen.
Yep.
And it's so important that we give our kids that individuality. They have their own space. That makes them feel empowered. That makes them feel unique, and that they're not trying to, oh, I have to be a football player because dad wants me to be. I have to be the singer because mom was a singer, and so she really wants me to be a singer. Those kinds of things are great skills if your kids have interest in them to help them with, but you need to just let go of the ego the moment you see their little baby faces and realize this is an individual human being. This isn't my entity that have control over from 18 years on, right?
Yeah. And like most parents, they say, I really just want my kid to be happy. But where the trip falls is the definitions of happiness. And so I'd also invite people to be flexible on what happiness means. I used to tell parents, and I actually just had this conversation with some colleagues a little while ago. If your kid knows they're loved in the core of their being, the kid knows they're loved, we can fix everything else. Everything else is available therapeutically or medicationally. Yeah. A child not feeling loved at all, ever, is a real rough pill to overcome. Yeah. You can overcome just about anything else with enough want and resources and everything else. But if you're a parent listening to this show, my guess is that you've got a lot of resources on some level. You either have financial or emotional ones to be able to provide a way for your kid to ultimately know that they're loved. And what their happiness is going to be is different than yours. I study generations for a living. We do a lot of work on Gen Z and Gen Alpha right now, which are the two. Gen Z is like mid teenagers to early 20s. Alpha is everybody below that.
Okay.
And the world is completely different than you can even begin to fathom. And there's a small thing as I remind millennials, like none of us have ever been through an active shooter drill in our lives as a child. And every single one of our children will go through one at least once a year, their whole lives, if they're American. And that's a real, we've essentially told kids they're not safe at school. Yeah. And they're not safe anywhere. And so how do you communicate to them that they're safe with you? And part of that is not just physical safety. Part of it is when they say to you, if your child was born a boy and they want to wear a dress, then you get excited that they're going to wear a dress. They're emotionally safe with you.
Right.
You are a Christian and they're into exploring crystals. Cool. Help them learn what crystals are ethically sourced and which ones aren't. And give them space. And remember that what causes you joy might not be what causes them joy. Yeah. And everybody has to make their own mistakes as well. But they're going to have a different cultural understanding of money. They understand education differently. They understand as well, especially teenagers and in the United States, that the way the US works isn't necessarily the best. And a lot of other generations were raised with a lot of American exceptionalism, like we are the tits and everybody else sucks. And these kids don't, by and large, feel that. There's a lot more, well, why can't we have universal health care? Well, why can't we have gun control? Why is everyone here so obsessed with abortion? Come on. There's a lot of, or there's also kids that are deeply concerned for the soul of America because they listen to a lot of adults telling them to be deeply concerned for the soul of America. So we're seeing a lot more, God bless their little hormonal bodies. They have to handle a lot more. Yeah. They've been forced to be adults, but never taught how to be adults. And so give them some space and be with, this is so hard. I envy none of you for doing this, but here's what I promise. If your kid knows they're loved, you're doing a great job.
I love it.
At the end of the day, that's it. Your job is to love them. You're going to screw up loving them. You're going to screw up providing for them. A lot of love is about patterns.
Mhm.
Trust is about patterns.
Mm.
So you blew the call last week. Okay. So you blew the call a lot in 1997. Okay. We deal in humanity with patterns. That's how we build trust. So if your kid can trust that they're loved, you've built that pattern, which then means when you do something boneheaded or you hurt them deeply out of how you define love,
Mm.
you've equipped them to potentially ask more questions about you. Well, my mom says she loves me, and I know she loves me, but this thing that she just told me to do isn't loving me.
Mm.
So especially for teenagers, hopefully you've done something where they can then go, what the hell? Why do you want me to do this?
Mm.
This doesn't feel right to me. And you guys can work with that. But, as my parents always said, parenting is a verb.
It's always in action, isn't it?
It's
Always
always in
in
action. I am turning 40 this year, and I spent an hour on the phone with my mother this morning. So she will be my mother until I draw my last breath.
Yeah.
And it's a contact sport.
Isn't that the truth? And our relationships that we build with our children, let's just start there early on. The best we can do is, by showing them that we care about their interests, showing them we care about their emotions, and doing more of the kind of letting, how did it go? Telling them what their emotions are when they're little, when you see them. Oh, you're happy doing this in play. It looks like you feel happy right now. It looks like you seem so mad. Wow, that looks so frustrating. Wow, you really feel frustrated about that. And I love the way that we were talking back and forth about how to, because they are having all of these emotions. And like you said, they're in the succession that they are so quickly happening, giving them an identification for those emotions, giving them the backup tools for those emotions. So important. How do we start to do that with our kids?
Well, I think one of the first things to do is the work in and of yourself, that emotions are value neutral. So fear is not bad, anger is not bad, joy is not good necessarily. Feelings are value neutral. What you do with them is what's different. So like I was actually just talking to a friend who has a young child who's about to start doing lockdown drills. And he was saying, like, I'm really scared, mommy, whenever we do this. And so she said, what do I say back? And, she ran me through everything else she tried. And I said, well, what if you just acknowledge that fear isn't bad? Like, what if you say, fear is a good thing because it's a reminder of how much you love people. It's a reminder of how much this matters. So what do we do with our fear? When we're scared, we pray to the angels or we count our fingers, or like, what do you do? So when they're really little, like when they're able to start cognitively understanding these things, 2, 3, 4, you do what you said, you identify them, and they start to get a little older, 5, 6, 7, and you start to teach them what to do with them. 8, 9, 10 on, it goes that way. I mean, there's so many, like my niece is 3 and I'm watching so much of, like, she just has so much in her tiny little body that her tiny little body can't handle.
Yeah.
And, I teach executives and things like that how to handle employees. And I'll say, okay, but how many of your employees are still 4? Fundamentally, like, you want to make fun of kids, but like fundamentally, there's parts of us, like, if you talk to most humans, who we were at 14 is some part of who we are still now. And that's the same. The way you were taught to handle emotions in your household is the way you're going to handle them as an adult without therapeutic intervention.
Yeah.
So all of that is kind of what it looks like. But I really like telling them, giving them options with what to do, especially for girls in puberty, as they start to handle hormones and they start to not, a lot of us girls were like pretty ashamed at our outbursts, or we didn't know what to do, or we're so used to being mocked for them.
Drama queen, right?
We're drama queens, we're dramatic, we're all those things. If you are raising a daughter, I would encourage you to get rid of the word dramatic from your vocabulary.
100%. Yes.
Because they're not. They just feel a lot of things. And your sons feel them too, by the way, but they're just taught to never share them with you. So
Hopefully
they've been
not.
taught for
We don't.
years. Yeah, they've been taught for years that boys don't have emotions. No,
Yeah.
boys are incredibly emotional.
So
The only
much.
emotion they're often allowed to show is anger.
Yeah.
Men are incredibly emotional. Turn on any news channel at night and watch men. They are incredibly emotional.
Mhm.
But they've been taught that the only one that they can show is fear is anger and outrage. So all that to say, a huge part of parenting, I think, is giving tools. This is the reality. This is how you handle it. This is what I think you're feeling. Is that true? I mean, obviously you can't ask a 3-year-old, but you can ask a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Is that true? How can I help you? What do you want me to do about it? And I'll say, one of your questions you asked me at the beginning was, how do we help our kids build empathy? And this is a way to build it for themselves, to understand that their emotions aren't bad, that what they're feeling even if it doesn't have an answer, it has an explanation. They're not weird or broken or different from their friends.
Yeah.
They are like, here is how we handle it. Now there's other ways to help them build it with other people. But I think this conversation about emotions I want to point out that this is one of the ways to help them with curiosity about themselves.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and I have an 11-year-old, and we are going through the throes of puberty and have already started menstruation. Bless her heart. I don't think she'll be listening to this podcast, but it's so.
It's not a shameful thing. 50% of the population does it whether we want to or not. So
absolutely not a shameful thing at all, just out of her own privacy and embarrassment that it may cause. I apologize, Anna, but no, but it's so important right now that, number one, I see that she doesn't know how to go through all of these emotions. These are all things coming up, confusing her, making her react and want to stomp or slam doors and all, kind of the things that I don't react like that. But, she feels like she has to kind of control her emotions in that way. And so we're definitely trying to offer options and let her know that all of those things are okay. And I'm really grateful that right now, going through these moments, even though it's only just began and we're only just learning of kind of the triggers that are the week before and such as things. And I'm really starting to see some patterns emerge, as we were talking about patterns, in that, okay, as soon as I notice this, I'm going to offer her a little bit of extra time. I'm going to offer her a little bit of maybe a pampering. I'm going to put some things out so that I can help her to understand that all of these things are okay. She's, like you said, embarrassed, ashamed that she's having these feelings, upset when she has the outbursts and has to come back and to apologize. And we're just saying, you're human. These are lessons we're learning together on this road. Like, we've never been in this situation until right this moment together. And we're going to figure it out hand in hand. Or you don't want me to touch you? Fine. I'll stand across the room.
Exactly.
Put it on that side.
Yeah. I love that. I think so much of parenting is just reminding yourself that no one gets it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I have seen and loved and worked with thousands of teenagers in 8 different countries.
Wow.
And what I can tell you at the core of my being is that every kid is a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if that teenager, now they've got some nonsense that they have to deal with in different places. But fundamentally, every kid wants to be seen, heard, and understood. Mm-hmm. Every adult wants to be seen, heard, and understood.
Absolutely.
So you never look at a kid in the middle of anything and go, I know just how you feel, because you never say that to another person, full stop, because that's just going to make people want to throat punch you. So you don't say, I know how you feel. You say, that is obviously a lot, and I'm so sorry. How can I help?
Definitely.
How can I help?
I might have to remember that. I don't know if I say that, but that's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have to check my conversations and make sure I'm not saying, I know how you feel.
It's super, we were always taught to say it.
Yeah.
Like, we've always been taught to say it. And it's something I was training as a social worker as well. And I remember, like, I was taught to say that.
Yeah.
In some therapeutic interventions as a way to, like, build rapport.
Yeah.
And the older I got, and I spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland, which is an incredible incubator in understanding but not agreeing.
Oh,
An
interesting.
incredible little incubator. So here is there is absolutely no way I know how anyone feels. And there were times that, like, I'd be talking to a friend from there, or even honestly, my husband is from there. And we would be talking, and his childhood included army checkpoints.
Oh, wow.
My childhood included trips to the Jersey Shore.
Mm.
And we are also from different, socioeconomic backgrounds at that time. We have different education. John went to university, but left when he finished everything by 20.
Yeah.
Because it's a 3-year university program.
Wow.
So I was in university until 21, and then I have 3 postgraduate degrees. So like we've got all this different stuff. And so it was easy for us to look at each other when we were far away from our parents and say, I know just how you feel. And the more we did it in our marriage, the more I was just like, you have no effing idea how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our relationships with our dads are totally different. The expectations of our family are totally different. When you lived overseas, you were in your 20s and there were 4 other kids at home. I'm in my 30s and it's just my brother and it feels completely different, all this kind of other stuff.
Yeah.
So the longer I went on rants with him, the more I started asking other people and digging into the social science research as well. Like the more I just realized it's the dumbest thing any of us could say.
I love it. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And every single person,
So
no matter where I am and I do a presentation, I'm like, if somebody looks at you and says, I know how you feel, how many of you internally want to throat punch them? And like every hand goes up. I'm like, exactly. But like, it's offered in kindness.
Yeah.
But it's still bullshit.
Right.
Like it's still absolute crap. So what do we say instead? I'm so sorry.
That looks rough.
I'm so sorry. That sounds terrible. Can I help?
Yeah.
Do you need a hug? Do you need a snack? Do you need a nap?
Mm-hmm.
Everything goes back to kindergarten. Do you need a hug, a snack, a nap, a timeout? How can I help you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
And what can I do? And that's walking alongside anybody from people like big enough, as huge traumas as like assault and cancer and war, to tiny traumas like, I couldn't go to prom because of COVID.
Mm.
Or, things that other people look at and be like, just get over it. Those are still traumas and they still need people to hold them with love and compassion.
Mm.
I'm so sorry. That sounds so rough. I know when something like that happened to me, it was real hard. How can I help?
Yeah, definitely. And I like it that you said that, because it's okay to share your own experiences if you've been down a similar path as someone and say, or maybe this is, something I learned when I went through this. But I love how you validate what they're feeling, not by knowing yourself and being the all-knowing. I love that. Because no more, right? No more will I be the all-knowing of people's feelings. Lots of lessons learned today. But moving forward, I just love the fact that, it was rough. Or maybe, here's what I did when this happened to me, and I hope it works for you. If you need any other advice or help, let me know. Or go to Kristen, please. Here's her number.
I mean, the natural tendency for humans is to center ourselves in other people's pain.
Huh.
And part of that is because we're terrible at sitting with the pain of others and we want that pain to go away. So if we just insert ourselves into it and make it all about us, it's more comfortable.
Interesting.
So it's an intentional discipline to sit with somebody and say, I'm so sorry, that sounds so rough. How can I help? Because especially in the moment of trauma, like if you're fresh and they're sharing this with you fresh, your kid has just come home from school when they've been bullied, it's fresh. Mm-hmm. Almost nobody wants advice or solutions. Very few folks want. All they want to know is that they're not crazy for being hurt. Yeah. They want to be validated in their pain. And it doesn't matter if you think their pain is nonsense. It doesn't matter if you think they should get over it. I don't care what you feel about their pain. Your job as a fellow human and your job as an intentional parent is to say, I'm so sorry, that sounds so hard. What do you need right now? Mm-hmm. And if they say, I don't know, offer a snack, a nap, a hug.
Love that.
Offer some kindergarten principles.
Perfect.
One of the things I always tell my employees is, do you need to go wash your face?
Oh.
I tell my husband, do you want to go take a shower? Like, do anything that connects you back to your body.
Mm-hmm.
A hug, a nap, a snack, a shower, a walk.
Yeah.
Do you need to go feel sunshine on your face?
Yeah.
What do you need? Do you need to sit here and breathe with me? Do you need to be left on your own? Do you want to be distracted? But don't offer those options unless they say, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
Teenagers often want something for about 10 minutes, and then they want something else for another 30, and then they want something else for 10 minutes. Ride the wave. Ride the wave.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And remember, you are a cucumber with complicated emotions. You need sunshine and water. So when everything feels too overwhelming, you need sunshine and water.
Yeah. No, I think that is so important. I was reading a journal the other day, and it was talking about the importance of reconnecting and with nature, and how, just that even 15 minutes off your phones, off of all electronics, and reconnecting, taking a walk, sitting in the sun, going out and petting your dog outside and putting your hand in the grass, that reconnection to reset all of the electrical, things that are going on, attached to the electronics, attached to the lights, attached to the everything's. I love to offer that time too when my kids are feeling overwhelmed. Let's go throw rocks in the canal. Like, if you're upset, let's go throw rocks in some water. Like, okay. It's always, ends up with laughter and like skipping around and having such a better time, looking for bugs, whatever it consists of. It always brings us back to who we are instead of this.
Sometimes you got to do visceral stuff. The number of times I have like burned ex-boyfriends' photos with my friends, like you got to do visceral stuff.
Yeah. So true. Absolutely.
So, I'm mindful of the question about how to build empathy in your kids for others. And I want to give my 3 quick tips because I think that hopefully this can give you some tactile things to do.
I love it.
So if you live in a city that has food that is not your culture, teach them to eat it. I am not somebody who believes that picky eaters are born. I believe they are often made outside of like textural things that people need for neurodivergence. That's a different ball game.
Amen.
And I acknowledge neurodivergence is real and we need more research and more support for it. But there's a lot of kids that are picky for other reasons. And even if they are and they think it's weird, make them take 2 bites. But go to the restaurant, don't do takeout.
Yeah.
Go to the restaurant, look around and teach them to ask questions about the decor. Whenever you go to, a lot of Asian restaurants, there's paintings of their culture. Ask them about it. So that's simple. Teach them to eat food that you didn't grow up with. Mm-hmm. The next one is if you live in a city with cultural festivals, put them on your calendar. Teach them that Greek people are not in something just in books, that Muslims are not this. We just had Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year. If you live in a place with a lot of people from Iran, you might have had a public Persian New Year celebration. Food's delicious. Go to those. Another is to find age-appropriate media from other countries. So, obviously the one that everybody's watching right now is Bluey. So Bluey is from Australia. What does Australia mean? Can you find it on the map? Do we want to look up something about Australia? Do you know that they have kangaroos in Australia? What's a kangaroo? These are kind of things. Then as they get older, especially if you've got teenagers, I want to let you know that nothing is too hard for them to handle. They live in a hellscape you don't understand. So, and a lot of your kids may already be aware of some stuff that you think, oh, they shouldn't be aware of that. They are. They have phones.
Oh, yeah.
They know. So there's a great documentary. If your kid has started menstruating, it's called Period End of Sentence. And it's about menstrual inequality in India. And then it's really easy to make that jump to menstrual inequality in America and say, do you know that a lot of girls have to skip school because they don't get tampons and pads? And then say, what are we going to do about it? Do you want to do a fundraiser? When women go to domestic violence shelters, they often have to flee without that stuff. What do you say? We call around and we go and get $20 worth of stuff and donate it. There's tiny ways to just make them think of people who aren't them.
Yeah.
Start with food. then start with experiences they've had. If your kid is super interested in a sport, find what that sport looks like in other countries. If your kid plays baseball, why don't you look up the other countries that were in the World Baseball Classic and find out what baseball looks like there? Do they really love baseball? Then let's talk about cricket. Do they really love American football? Do you know that Canadian football has whole separate rules? What if we go and learn those? Find something they like, remind them that the whole world likes it too. And then go start there and go from there. And that counts for you too. If you don't know anyone who is physically disabled, there's a great documentary called Crip Camp. It's on Netflix. It'll teach you all about the history of the ADA. Pick a category of folks, a country you don't know a lot about, a food group you're unfamiliar with. Do some Googling. Find a thing, hour documentary, 2 hours, a 10-minute YouTube clip. I don't care. Start somewhere. Your kids' classes are going to be more multicultural than yours ever will be, no matter where you live in this country. They're going to hear languages that you didn't even know exist. Embrace that with them. Get excited and do some Googling with them.
That is so true. And those are wonderful exercises to really help to concrete those relationships, to let them know, yeah, not only do I love you and I'm showing you, but I'm also interested in you. And I want to show you my interest in, let us do this together, and kind of have I think that's really fantastic family advice for folks.
Yeah. Music's an easy one.
Yeah.
If your kid's in a choir, they're singing in Latin. They might be singing in Hebrew. They might be singing in Chinese. Music's an easy one. Find something.
Definitely.
So find something somewhere and use it as the connection point. And then don't be surprised if they say, yes, I have a friend online from Latvia.
Yeah. No, isn't that the truth?
And then I'll say my parting comment is don't refer to online friends as fake friends. They don't have online friends and real friends.
Yeah.
They have online friends and offline friends.
Yeah. Oh,
change that really quickly. It's a small difference, but a lot of us grew up online. I've made entire friends on AOL Instant Messenger that I've never met in real life.
Yeah.
Real life.
Yeah.
Hear me. I've made friends on AOL Instant Messenger I've never met offline, but they are just as real to me as people I met in school.
Absolutely.
So shift that really quick in your vocabulary. Your kids have online friends and offline. They don't have fake life and real life.
I like that. Great advice. Kristen, it's been such a pleasure to have you on today. And I'd love to invite you back to
anytime. Happy to chat.
Another one. So that was really fantastic. Before we go, let us know where we can find you, and everybody who wants to reach out to you, social medias, websites, all that good stuff.
So my company is called Abbey Research. It's ABBEY Research. And we are at Abbey Research on everywhere you are, we are too. And then our website is argooddoctors.com.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure those all in the show notes so that nobody skips a beat in trying to find you or anything, and get right
Fantastic.
to you. It's been such a pleasure to have you on today. And I hope we can stay in touch so
Absolutely.
that I can reach out when I'm in dire need from teenage-ism, right?
For sure. I'm here for whatever you need.
Excellent. Well, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too.